Let's put me on. We're here. So are you. Holy mackerel. What an exciting day. Hey, I kept decorating. We're moving forward here. We're moving forward. Stars can't shine without darkness. We can work on that. Every day may not be good, but there is something good in every day. And this morning, when I went to the synagogue, here's what I learned over there. It's a generation thing. We learn from one generation to the other. Maybe one generation talks about the big picture, what the focus was there, and then the other one actually quietly makes it real, implements it, takes the actions, and stays within the confines and stays within that idea or ideals of dad, of what they're trying to accomplish overall. But unless it's sustainable, it doesn't happen. How do we make it sustainable? Let's turn around again over here. How do we make it sustainable? Well, we got to work through the darkness, right? Yeah, because when we need darkness, this way the stars shine, the rest of that stuff. But also the reality is that no matter what it is that we do, there's always going to be challenges. Oh, and what we do during those challenges is really it, which is another thing that was mentioned this morning. You think I went to go see a motivational speaker this morning? If you're listening to this, you know what? A lot of it is. Anyhow, we all go through different challenges. You know what? If we lose our sense of confidence, if we lose our way, if we just focus on the negatives each and every time, guess what? We're done. So that's why, second one over here, every day may not be good, and that's the truth. But there is something good in every day. So what do we do? How do we pull from that something good from every day? We have to look at everything. Again, was kind of mentioned this morning too. I didn't speak to this guy. Right? He might be our new motivational speaker. But it's like everything that we do, we have to go into it with the attitude that we're going to learn something from it. I've mentioned this in the past about different situations where it's like, okay, if I go into something and it's the very first time I'm doing it and I think I'm going to be really good, I'm living in a dream world. But if I go into something thinking I'm going to be really good and get everything right the whole time and something goes wrong, oh, and it will. You say something wrong, oh, and I do. Then it's bad. And you're like, oh, I can't do this. I'll never do this. I'm done. That's it. I'm going away. Forget it. Completely done. Why am I doing this? I don't really know. And you quit. Oh, I got to get another saying over here. I think the first activity when it comes to succeeding in something is to fall down. Just fall down. Then you got to get up. So that goes into the learning side of it too, or the attitude with it, right? If I go into something with the attitude that I'm going to be really good and I screw up, now I'm really disappointed in the outcome, and then I'm done. That's bad. If, on the other hand, I go into that same situation where I'm looking at it as, hey, this is the first time I'm doing it. I'm going to do the best I can. And I know one thing is going to happen here. I'm going to learn from whatever mistake I made. Now, you think about that. You're going to go into something with the attitude that you got it right. You're going to get it right off the bat, and something fails. Push, negative. You go into something with the attitude that I'm going to do my best. I'm going to give a whirl at making this thing perfect, but I know I'm going to learn something. That's good. What a mature way of looking at it. And I can't tell you I do this all the time, but I can tell you if you can, it's good. But what if you go into something really, really in a positive manner, where you go into something with the attitude is that I'm going to walk away from this with 3 takeaways. Now that's totally different. I know when I first started doing this thing, I was like, oh, I want to share 3 actionable ideas every time. 3 actionable ideas. Do I do that? No, I probably don't. I'm sure I don't. I forgot. I got a new camera. That was good. But when I did that, I actually had the whiteboard over there. I'm to the left of me. I don't have in front of me. Now, what I had in front of me, I always had goals for the show. Maybe I had those 3 actionable ideas in there, and I stay a little bit more on course, to get to that thing. You make Karen a little bit happy. I get feedback every once in a while. It's like, look, you start talking about one thing and then you go flying away on a tangent. But I had them in front of me, so it's 3 actionable ideas. But what if you went into something? You went into something knowing that you were going to walk away with 3 takeaways, 3 learning experiences from that. Man, now that becomes something totally different. Now, as you know, in my world over here, I've been talking about the drag racing and stuff like that out in Cavalton. And what you also know is that I don't know much of anything about drag racing, which makes it kind of funny. Maybe it'll be funny if I get on a comedy stage again, but makes it kind of funny the fact that I'm actually doing this, but I am. And now what I did is like, I need to learn how to become better. So when I go out there, I actually have a notepad now. I have a notepad trying to take notes of what's going on. So here was a learning experience. And this goes to the title of the year. It's like, where and how do we learn? First things first is the attitude of learning. All right. No matter what it is you do, you got to go into it with the understanding you're going to learn something. We used to do that in classrooms. You walk into a classroom, you're a student, you're expected to learn. You know that you're in that room to be taught. You know that you're there looking to pick up some information on something. You see the blackboard, you got all of these signs in front of you, including a teacher, instructor, mentor, whatever, in front of you, teaching you something. Well, now adults. Yeah, maybe some more adults than others, but we're now adults. When was the last time you've been in a classroom? Long time. Last time I was in a classroom, actually, I was the guy in front of the room, chatting. That means I was supposed to be teaching. But you want to know something? You go into even that situation with the idea that I'm going to learn something from it. You're going to become that much better, and that could go around. So what do we learn? What do we do? So we need to go into it with that attitude, no matter what it is. If you're the one instructing, obviously, if you're going into the classroom as a student, you're going to learn there. But with the drag racing out there, I went into that first time I did it, man. I knew nothing. Probably the healthiest aspect of the whole thing. My expectations of doing well there were pretty darn low. Oh, I was told exactly what I needed to say when I was there, and I did it. Had an opportunity to speak a little bit for free form, and I went back to what I know, what I think, and the rest of that stuff. Good. Got invited back. But I learned by listening and doing that. And I attended when the NHRA, National Hot Rod Association, sponsored a Zoom meeting for those that are and looking to become announcers. So I attended that. So I knew I was going into this thing as a student. And I had my notepad, my handy dandy notepad, and trying to pick up on different things. And I've gone and I'm focused on making that the MO when I attend these things. So they have the racing now out in Indianapolis, which is going on, which is really, really phenomenal. So am I watching it? I'm actually more listening to it. I'm just going to pick it up. But it is like, the big races that is taking place in the drag racing community. That is out there in Indianapolis. Got a couple of folks out there too that we know from from the weekend activities. So I was listening to it, and that became the classroom for me. And that's another place to learn from. Was I watching all the races? No, I was listening. I was listening to a couple of different things. One, every word I did not understand, or every term, phrase within that group that gets used that I was not sure of using on the weekend when I'm on the microphone because I want to try not to say something that's just outright stupid. So I was looking for other ways of doing it. When I was there, I would listen in on conversations and pick up some of the terms. But the problem was is that they were spit out, and if I didn't have my notepad real handy, couldn't really do it. This though became a little bit more of a learning experience because it's taped for one, so I'm able to go back on it, and I had it in the background. Most people might listen to background music. I'm listening to background announcing for the drag races. So in total, there's about 18 hours of tape that they've gone over here, and it's all live. It was live to tape, I should say. So they have the today's what Friday, so it was the Wednesday and Thursday races. Listening, listening. So here's my one takeaway for you on that one. How do you learn? By listening. By listening. Listening to what you don't know. Gosh, even in Toastmasters, we have a word of the day. Word of the day is brought by one of our members. You can pick any word, it doesn't make a difference. There's no parameters when it comes to that. But one of the most interesting ways of coming up with a word and the goal of the members that are speaking that day, is to use that word in a sentence. So if it's a word you don't know, it's a word you don't know, right? And that would make more sense than a word you do know. So what you can do in that world of Toastmasters is as you're listening to the news, if you hear a word that you're not familiar with, chances are others are not familiar with it too. That's a great word to bring to the Toastmaster community for the word of the day. You listen to the news, they say a word, whatever word, you use it in a sentence, you give the description of it, and then everybody's goal is to kind of use that word as much as they can in their presentations. Helps in a couple of ways. One, you get to learn a different word. The other side of it too is that if you are giving a speech, it's a prepared speech, and you have the whole thing memorized, you still want to interject that word into it. So it allows you to think and speak at the same time, trains you to think and speak at the same time. Another one of those learning experiences, right? How do you become a better speaker? You got to learn how to think and speak at the same time, not just spit out information. So by learning, bringing it back over here, is listening for words I didn't get or listening for words that I've heard before. In my case, be listening for words that I've heard before at the track, but I wasn't really sure how to properly use it in a sentence. And that became the whole advantage of listening in on the announcers, for these races. 18 hours. They wind up using the same phrase. The races go really quick, like out there. The races go really quick. It's like once a minute or so, there's another pair of cars going down the track. Or if one car is going in a lane and there's nobody on the other side, that car again gets a bye as they go down the track. And then they'll be in staging lanes, and then they move up and they go over to the wet box. So water box, not wet box, water box. That's why you should have notes. They go to the water box and do a burnout, and then I forgot what was used to termination when they come closer to the beams, not lights, but they're beams. It's the staging lights that actually tell them when to go and all the rest of that stuff. So here, we learn by listening. We learn by picking up on those things that we're a little gray about. We learn it by putting stuff in the background that perhaps we could listen to. We learn also by keeping a notebook. And that notebook thing has come up a couple of times. And actually, pen and paper, crazy stuff, right? But that notebook thing has come up a couple of times. It was Judy Carter. Judy Carter wrote a book about comedy. Book about comedy. How do you become a comedian? One of the first things she said was, right? Oh, you shouldn't be naturally funny. And she said, get a book. Get a book. Get her book, of course. But beyond that, get a book. Get a notepad. Get a notepad. And this is where every one of us can become funny. Humorous, at least. Getting on a comedy stage again takes a little difference, but here's how you get started with it. Buy her book and get a notepad. And what you would do is the same thing I did over here, is that when you're out and you make somebody laugh about anything, but you make somebody laugh, write it down. Not the, hey, I made Karen laugh, or hey, I made Doug laugh. That's not really it. But write down what you said, what the scenario was. Write down as much as you possibly can remember then. Because we all know it's like, oh, I'll do it later. It never gets done later. And if it doesn't get done later, and it won't, and you don't do it now, here's what happens. It flutters away, and you never refer back to it again unless somebody says some other keyword and like, oh yeah, I remember, but you don't remember exactly. And that's the same scenario I got over here with these racing terms. I remember you used the word water box, but when? And by the time I get done, that's live, it's gone. That moment's gone. Rolled up into the water. I say that? Yeah, no. So it's the same with comedy. You want to get on, forget about even getting on a comedy stage. You want to be funny. You want to have some stories to tell, stuff like that. Write them down. And then you have your little book. And then as it grows, I mean, she talked about making folders and things like that. But that's if you're really serious and really keeping track of it. Do it that way. Look, we all know this also from eating, right? First thing you want to do, oh, I want to lose weight. Okay. What do you eat? Yeah, I eat well. Chances are, no. So taking notes. That's it. Taking notes. It was the first thing I got over here for how do you learn? Where do you learn? It's actually listening. And listening in all kinds of situations. What do you do from another step is keep that notebook. And where do you look for opportunities to learn? Well, that answer is everywhere. I don't want to use the word it depends. But it's everywhere. Everything. And go into it, with that kind of an attitude. Oh, I had forget about the weekend stuff, even during the day. I don't get this pool. It's like I got to learn how to do this thing, how to keep this thing going. Every time one of those folks came over to help out with something, I'm asking questions. Was I annoying? Probably, because they're here, they get paid for the job, not the time, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So it's like, they want to come, do it, and get out and do that thing. Oh yeah, but what about this? What about that? Trying to learn more and more, about that scenario. Trying not to be annoying, as that goes. But look at everything as some sort of an opportunity, to learn. I could point to so many examples of that whole thing, right? It's so much easier. Look, it's just so much easier to hire somebody, go and do something. It's like, oh yeah, this broke. I'll hire someone. I need to learn. I need to edit stuff. Hire someone. I need to do whatever it is that you need to do. Hire someone. Costs a lot of money to hire people, right? That might not be the answer to everything. Working with somebody as a mentor, good idea. Learning from and with somebody. Well, that's actually learning from somebody if you're going to have a mentor. They're teaching you the ropes. They're teaching you how to do things. And that's great. Learning by experience, absolutely terrific. Learning with somebody that's guiding you, like from somebody that is guiding you along where you're doing it, as a team. It's a great experience. That was also something that was suggested to me. How do you become a better race car announcer? Well, first thing is race a car. Now there's an idea for you, but it never dawned on me to go and actually race a car out there. I went as a passenger instead, you know. But to do something with somebody, now you get to see what it is. See, if you're doing it, if you hire somebody to do it, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it in the same format, just definitely not. Look, I get someone to work on the pool over there. Like, well, you need to put in 3 chlorine tablets every week. Okay, well, if I just hired someone to put in chlorine tablets every week, I'd never really know or get the fact that, you know what, they disappeared a little bit quicker, dissolved a little bit quicker when it was warmer out, or if they didn't ask questions, putting in shock or whatever. Do it at night. This way the sun doesn't burn it off, so it stays in the water longer. The way it was explained to me, which was a better way of phrasing that one. But if I never did it, they just did the pool, I'd probably be a happier person. But I also would have spent a few more bucks doing it. Then I would have gotten it. This video stuff, the rest of it. You want to shoot video, and Doug, you're over here now. You'd mentioned about want to do a podcast. Well, best thing to do is to just do it. Isn't that a terrible phrase? To just do it. But the best thing to do is experience what it's like to do it in private, all well and good, in private, and then take a look at it and take a look to see what it is that can be done better, because we all could do things better. Look, this whole experience, one of the things I wanted to do is to find the first one I did. Never had the patience to go back that far, but to find the first one I did of these things, and even on some of the ones I replayed, it was a different camera, it was a different setup, and the rest of that stuff. It's like you can see the growth in there, but that's only by doing it. Doing it. If I walked into a studio and just paid to do the studio, all the lighting would have been done, the microphones would have been done, the setting, all of that would have been done, and it just would have been what it was. It wouldn't have been as unique as some because you can't change these things, Rob. I don't want to say you can't change it, but it wouldn't have been as me, we'll say, as other things. So you learn a lot, by doing, and that's important. But there has to be somebody with you to do it, and that becomes the mentor. Now, we're learning with somebody is always an interesting thing too. Two of you get together, neither one of you know a darn thing, and then you kind of do it. Well, in some respects, that's Toastmasters. Depends on the club, but in some respects, that's Toastmasters. I join a club and I'm not a good speaker. All right, I'm new to speaking, and you join a club and you're new, join the same club, new to speaking, and what the heck are we going to teach each other? I don't know. If I don't know and you don't know and neither one of us know, well, it becomes quite an experiment as we go through the whole thing. Will we, do the giggles as we go along? Probably. It's like, hey, that sucked, right? Well, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. How can I make it better? I don't know. I'm a crappy speaker too. When you're looking at a Toastmaster club, you want to find a club that's got newer and more experienced speakers this way you can learn from them. Every one of these clubs are different. So if you are looking into Toastmaster world, you got to find a club where there are people better speakers than you are, or have different aspects of speaking than you are. This way you can learn from the whole thing, as that goes. But they're a mentor. All right, we got a teacher or instructor. They know all the answers, and they're teaching you, sitting there, you're just gobbling it all up. Mentor role, somebody who's guiding you. You're learning and doing, not just listening and learning, but you're doing as it goes. And then, of course, they're doing it with somebody. It becomes a fun experience. You're definitely going to progress, but very slowly, very slowly. And here, I'll give you the real life side of the example on this whole thing, too, is that, one, let's take the announcing, as the example. I go out there and I do the announcing. All right. That first day, everybody helped me. When I came back again this year to do it, I was more along the lines of on my own, trying to figure out what my style was, how to make the announcements and things like that. If I did something that was wrong, I was told I was wrong. But now I'm still on the microphone and I was told I was wrong and I didn't make a note. What did I learn? I learned I didn't do something right. I learned that I used a phrase improperly. I knew I wanted to continue on with this whole thing. So I was like, okay, my attitude toward that feedback was frustrating, but it was good. I'm glad I was told. So I do appreciate that if you were listening to this, I do appreciate that kind of thing. And it's funny, I would look at the track officials that were down there, the staff members that were on the track, and they're listening, they could hear, even though they got all the headphones on. And every once in a while, I get a big smile. So it's like, ooh, what did I say? That was wrong. Sometimes I said something was right, but what did I say that was wrong? And that was it. It was like, and sometimes I knew. But you get feedback over there. So was that a mentoring role? Yeah, maybe a little bit, not too much. The first day I did it, that was a mentoring role, side by side. Johnny Consulting, side by side. And that was great. I was like, hey, goes, yeah, good. Try this. I don't know. Good stuff. Thank you, my friend. We got it going. So now it's like when I'm there, there's a lot of things going on, and I'm competent enough to do it, to do it on my own, we'll say. But the announcing of the race is that aspect of it. But I need to learn more. So where do I go? Where would you go if you know that you are doing something, but you want to do it better? Whatever, right? Doesn't make a difference what it is, right? You want to become a better podcaster. What do? You go and listen and you learn and you watch these videos about podcasting. I've been watching these videos about cameras, how to take better photos. And it's all well and good to learn and to listen. But unless I enact it, it doesn't happen. The erasing, same thing. It's like I go and I need to spit out those words at the proper time. I'm looking for the thumbs up from those track officials. So I went and I watched these videos of the racing, 7 hours. I didn't know I wasn't listening intently 7 hours, but I had it all on back in my background, for that amount of time. Same thing today was in the background, listening for those key words. But am I going to learn from that? Yeah, but I'm going to know it not until I spit it out in my own form correctly over at the track. Photography. Am I going to learn from watching those videos? Yes. But am I going to know it and know it quickly? Not only if I actually do it and take those photos with the shutter speed, aperture setting, and all the rest of that kind of stuff, the ISO, those are the big three. So learning by listening is great, but learning by doing is it. So I'm going to leave you with this thought over here. You could get information from a bunch of different places. You need to listen to it. You need to write it down. You need to go into it with the attitude that it is a learning experience. But at some point in time, you have to have the confidence to do it. Do it privately, do it publicly, depends on level of confidence and competency on that one. Do it. Don't be afraid of the feedback that you get. If you're getting the feedback from the right people, from a teacher, from a mentor, from a friend who understands what you're trying to accomplish, not just trying to protect you, but understands what you're trying to accomplish, that is where you're going to learn and truly, truly learn what you need to do and be able to do it without thinking, which is a whole other thing. How do you get things rolling up the tip of your tongue without even thinking? By doing it, and making those mistakes, learning from them, and doing it again till you get it right. I'm going to do it again this weekend, and then continue on for a while as that goes. That's the announcing and the photography. We see we can do everything that much better. Because I'm going to tell you, when it's time to take a photo, don't have much time to think about that one either. But I do know something. With all of this stuff going on, with all of the activity out there, with everything that you do, people are watching. People are watching. So that's why you need to speak well, speak often, and live inspired. Because those people that are watching you will be inspired by you, even if you're going through that learning curve, and even if you mess up. You smile again after messing up? They're like, wow, that's a good attitude. We're striving for that one. We keep going on. Live inspired, my friends. You'll motivate others to do exactly the same thing. All right, we are getting ready for some weekend activities. We'll be back next week. Who knows? Maybe we will have a guest one of these days. All right, here we go. Let's play the band. Boom.